All right. So tonight we're going to reflect on the progress and look forward to what's coming up in the following years. We're going to follow through on our commitment of laying that foundation for a better future. Is when I ran my campaigns, what I said I would do, and this is us coming to fruition. We've been working diligently on paving roads, repairing infrastructure, rebuilding and expanding parks, and giving our neighborhoods the attention they rightfully deserve. We are tracking as many grants as possible, and we're going to talk through some of the ones. We don't have them all listed out here tonight, but we're going to talk through some of the grants. We did a quick review on the ones that we could find that's already been implemented. We did over 1.5 million this year alone, and that's not including the 4.5 million total project for New York and Broadway. So we've executed a lot of grant money this year. Well, we're on the New York Broadway project. It finished up this year. Obviously, we finished it up at the end of 2023. It was nearly 1 mile of paving, obviously 2 miles of curb work, 1.2 miles of storm drains, and roughly, it's a rough guesstimate of 1.6 miles of water line and sewer line that got replaced. It was a major project for the city. Obviously, we caused a lot of disturbance in those neighborhoods. I really appreciate the neighborhoods and their patience working through that. It was a lot of work. Another project that was completed this month, actually, we just finished it, was the depot. This was done through the ODNR Capital Improvement, which was actually secured by Tammy Phillips, your new board member, executed by the city. That one redid the inside of the depot. A lot of work was done to the inside. We did lighting, we did paint, kitchen, bathrooms. We also, the big one that most people comment on is the gazebo done outside. We made it a much more sustainable building, got rid of the wood, the paint. We added lighting, all new sidewalks through the park. And we recently saw the curbs got added. That was the final phase of that project. We put the curbs in, added an ADA ramp down by the gazebo where it didn't have one. So a lot of work went into that. The next big one that we started on, this one started like probably the first month of when I first took over as mayor, was the Louis. It's been a journey so far. The first $20,000 we secured that through OVRDC with the help of the Ohio Development Department. That one was the $20,000 was to remove the debris, clean it out. We also secured it with the plywood that you see on it. We intentionally left the wood sideways so people could look in and see the progress going on. At the same time, we was also working with the ACGB grant. In that grant, we secured money for engineering, which a lot of you probably saw on the Facebook page. We had we put up the engineering drawings that we did, and that also gave us the cost estimate and stuff to move forward. And we're going into the next phase. Hopefully next month they'll be announcing who will actually be awarded the money to move forward. That's our plan right now to finish out the Louis to get that project moving along. So now we'll move on to the city crews. The projects that we did internal to the city. These ones are led mostly by our utility foreman Jeff Bates and Stacy Camp. Obviously new this year also. So a lot of learning curves. Obviously I've been learning my job. Stacy's been learning his. Jeff Bates he's been that rock that's been there just to help keep us moving along. So a lot of work's been put on his shoulders. We'll start out, we'll go through water distribution. Ryan Souders is our foreman for that department. Another great job for them. As you saw, that's the crew that you guys mostly see on Facebook. Cold leaks in the middle of the night. It's that crew out there fixing them. So we'll go ahead. They started out, they replaced over 500 feet of water main service lines in 2023 with nine new water taps, repaired 115 water leaks, and replaced over 175 foot of sewer main. Added new sewer taps, and I'm sure you guys remember the whole lift station issue we had just outside of town. A major project for the city. That was solved by that crew. They're the ones who actually went out there. Part of that is we learned we had some deficiencies in training. No one is really confined space entry trained. So we got 5 people trained in that now. So we actually have people who can go in confined spaces now. Safely. They're trained on how to do it. Our fire department keeps gear that allows us to do it. So we have the means now to actually go into confined spaces safely, which allowed that project to get wrapped up in the end. Make sure I'm on my right line here. And I don't want you to think I'm going to not mention fire and police department. They're going to speak on their own section, so don't think I'm intentionally skipping over them. But we're not going to. I won't be speaking to their numbers. While I'm speaking about the water department, I just want to take a second to make sure we mention the Jackson-Vinton County community actions. They play a vital part in these economic times as far as helping people keep their water bills paid. People who fall delinquent, they help them get water restarted. They've been a huge component that's helped the city keep water turned on to our residents, because ultimately we don't want anyone to be without water. So a big thank you to that to that group to help keep water on. Okay, then we'll do a quick rundown of some projects here. And this is one crew here, and then this crew, the infrastructure crew, I mentioned them in the past, ran by Phil Thompson. This crew does a lot of the projects. Anytime you see us doing a larger project, it's ran by the infrastructure crew. If you see us replacing a lot of water line, putting in sewers, putting in fire hydrants, it's almost always that team. The team that you see working in front of Jim Bottling right now, that whole project is being ran by Phil Thompson. Our water distribution crew is actually helping out. We don't normally pair them up like this, but we're trying to get that project done really fast, so we actually have two sets of crews over there working to expedite that one. But we'll run through them. We did Vermont Street from 8th to 12th Street. Locker Lane saw a total replacement of 2,300 feet of water main, 2 fire hydrants, 35 taps. Under drain was installed in Minnesota, 14th Street, and behind the VFW. 5 catch basins were installed. And then one of the next steps that we started taking throughout our departments was maintenance, actually maintaining the stuff that we've installed and maintaining what we already have. So we did, I'll just read through them. 30 pressure check tests were performed, 227 fire hydrants were flushed, 201 water main valves were exercised. Performing that routine maintenance, because the exercise valves, there were exercise valves all throughout town. Most of them do not work. The ones that we've been installing and the ones that we've been able to get to work, we'll go out and exercise them now every year and make sure that they stay functional. That way we're needed when we have them. A lot of times when you see us doing, like the last leak, I believe it was over on 14th Street, if I'm not mistaken. The last one was on Facebook page. We saw that guy down in the hole with his foot over top of a water leak spraying out. That's because we have no way to shut the water off. So that's doing hot repairs. That line is live, and that guy is standing over top of the leak, keeping the water from blowing them out of there. We have no other way to stop it. That is a very, very fine skill set. Not anyone can do what these guys do. But with these valves that we're installing, that'll allow us to shut the water off in areas and stop this from happening. But right now, we don't have that ability. Paving. Everyone loves to talk about paving. So it's the last step, but the most noticeable that everyone likes. We did Lockwood Road this year, number 8 Pike, Broadway, South New York, Mitchell Drive, Velma, the alley behind the VFW, the alley behind the American Legion, the alley from 6th to 7th, and New Hampshire also all paving projects this year. That's a lot of paving in one year, and I promise you that is our goal each year moving forward. I know most of you haven't seen it. We haven't been buying new trucks. We haven't been buying new cars. We haven't been buying unnecessary equipment. We are focused on infrastructure. Everything we do right now is if it doesn't put a pipe in the ground, pave roads, we're trying to cut it out. We're looking at any way we can consolidate efforts, any jobs that we can consolidate. Anywhere we can save money is a focus right now, because our infrastructure needs it. So we don't need all the other stuff right now. We're focusing on what we truly need. Our street department, we'll talk about it for a second, ran by David Euler. These numbers are they confuse you, they're so high. 16 tons of cold patch, 283 yards of concrete, 18,000 gallons of emulsion for the Durapatcher, 60 loads of Durapatching, 2,900 tons of stone, and 260 tons of asphalt. One of the things we've been working on is alleys. We started out, I kind of leaned in heavy on it. They've been working on it for years, but we kind of leaned in heavier on it last year and this year again. Last year we kind of was on the northeast. This year you probably see us, we'll shift it. We're just going to keep moving around in a circle. So now we're kind of moving over towards the northwest side of town, working on alleys that direction, and we'll just keep doing, it'll just keep going in a circle. Not every alley gets hit. Not every right of way is an alley. If there's grass growing up on it, it's not an alley. You won't be getting stoned. But if there's stone down there, you can tell it's an alley being used. We will be coming through and working on them. What else do we have here? As you notice, the 30 acres were cleared out of the cemetery as that project continues. This year, the big part that we did is we laid in the road from the old cemetery moving up to the top of the hill, and we went through, and it was more of a cleanup more so than anything. So it probably didn't look like a lot happened, but they went through and got a lot of the small stuff, the small debris off the ground, the bigger stones, anything like that. Grass seed was laid down. Along that front side was that mesh style looking stuff with the straw in it to help because to keep the hill from eroding. So that part of the cemetery is moving on. This year we'll continue on with the road to move the road, the lay in the bed for the road, not the actual road. We'll continue around, going down around that. This is one of those projects that's we have to have this cemetery. We're going to run out of cemetery in roughly 8 years. We're going to be out of cemetery. But it's unfortunately something that there's not a lot of funding out there for. So there's not a lot of money. So this is coming out of our capital. This is coming out of our budget to do this. So we've been doing it slowly. We're going to spread it out over 8 years because it's not a priority right now, but it will be. So we're just going to slowly just keep doing it and keep working on it, and hopefully by the time it becomes necessary, we're going to have it ready to go. If nothing, at least the front side of it, so we can start using it. Cemetery. All right. So now we'll talk about a little bit of the growth going on. In the last year, we had 11 homes built in Wellston. We now have 148 registered rental properties in Wellston. That was part of our code project. Was you talking code? I'm not stealing your thunder, am I? Okay. So we that project has been very successful. We've had a majority of our landlords keep very good properties, and we have very few problems. But we do run into them. And Brian's been very, very good about finding these properties, and we don't want anyone in Wellston living in substandard housing. So this is the big thing when we stood this up what year did we stand up code? I apologize. I should know that.
For the rental property,
yes.
This is year number 2 for
So
inspection.
it's a very important part for our city. We don't want to have a city that we have people living in substandard housing. So for me, it's very important, and I hope everyone else feels that way about it. But it's been very successful so far. One of the issues that I personally am passionate about is the parks. Our kids need somewhere to play. This is a relatively large city, a small city, but we need areas for our children to play. Kelly Lambert Park this year had some very nice upgrades if you haven't been down to it. 2 different grants was used to make this happen. Mindy Berry was actually very instrumental in getting the playground equipment for us. We executed that grant, and then we also followed it up, and we used the rest of the money left over from the COVID funds to put the fence around it. So we got a fence there now, so that park is safe. The next one that we're going to start focusing our energy towards is Blamer. We already got CDBG money. We got roughly $54,000, I believe it was. We got approved. We'll be putting up a fence and lighting around the basketball court. We also applied for another $350,000, $340,000 through the capital appropriations for the rest of the park. We actually drove to Columbus today and met with Speaker Stevenson's office, and a few other offices while we were there. But one of the subjects was to discuss our capital projects and then try to move these forward. So we'll be finding out hopefully in the not too distant future if that gets approved. This is a dangerous one because I'm going to miss someone here. But we'll talk about new businesses and growth in the city. So if I forget anyone, if you guys get yelled at by someone, I apologize. Hopefully we captured the majority of it. We had multiple boutiques, including a pet store, various shops, restaurants. Our downtown is now packed in the evenings. If you haven't been downtown in the evenings, we're doing very well in our downtown district. So big shout out, Scotty's on First, Viva's, the patio. And then on the other end of town, we also have happenings. McDonald's is never at a loss for customers. And Taco Bell. we haven't lost any of our major restaurants. None of our restaurants have left, but we haven't lost anything. We also had the addition in Scotty's old restaurant now, the diner, I believe they're calling it now. The diner seems to be thriving. That's a new one for us. But we haven't lost anything, but it seems that everything's doing really strong. And our downtown area, our downtown district at night is absolutely doing amazing. So hopefully that's some growth we can continue to capitalize on. Prime Trucking has expanded on the backside of Montgomery Trucking, if you haven't noticed it. So that's going to bring future jobs, hopefully, and more people into our area. Destiny Driving School is doing very well. General Mills has had huge expansions this year and continue to grow for us. BCR Holdings, another great business in our community, has recently bought Penn's Warehouse. If you haven't been down through there, and it's not called Penn's anymore, but it's what I know it as. They've really cleaned up that. If you haven't been down through, they have really cleaned up those buildings. They've cleaned up the yard. They've cleaned up the buildings, giving new life to that. And hopefully we'll see more things to come from that moving forward. But BCR has been a great asset to our community. And I apologize. If I forgot anyone's businesses, let them know I apologize. If anyone calls yell at you, because there's a lot. So I'm not trying to exclude anyone. But we still have a lot of work to do. We're nowhere near done. We got 4 more years, so hopefully we get a lot done in 4 years. Two of my main focuses for this year, the new water plant. If you haven't been out there, our water plants, you are more than welcome. During the week, any day, give me a call. I will take you to tour them. These things are in horrible shape. One of them is over 100 years old. The other one, I believe, is 60 to 70 years old. It's time for them to go. They are out of date and just not producing what they should be. So we've been working very hard. This is a $20 to $21 million project we're working. Right now we are currently tracking and in the hopes for roughly $16 million of that to be in grant. The rest right now we've secured a 0% loan for 40 years, so that's a very good loan through Ohio EPA. So we're working that direction with our DLZ, our engineering group. They've been taking lead on that one. The other big one that we've been working on, for me, it's been part of my vision since I started, since I was service director, is to finish out the park down at our ball fields. One of the big deficiencies the City of Wellston has is a lack of transient housing. We have no hotels, nothing for people to stay when they come to the county or they come to our ball fields. So the RV park has been a big push for me. We secured the $1.8 million AMLA grant, which will do the majority of the work to lay in the RV park. It'll include cabins on the far side of it. We're roughly going to get 50 spots in there. And that'll be our big push. We'll also put through the ACGP grant. We're applying for additional money to add on to it, to put in parks, pave the roads, make it nicer. But if nothing, this will be able to allow us to lay in the initial phase of it to get it operational. And that will also lend us towards our tourism. Tourism is what it's difficult for a city to drive industry, but it's easy for a city to drive tourism. This is something that I believe we need to continue pushing hard on. It's not on the thing tonight, the agenda. The county has started the tourism board. We are a member of that. We're going to help promote that. And then we need to, as a city, continue our tourism and to help push it. This RV park will be that first step where we can go outside the city to actually start driving tourism into Wellston. So I'm excited for it. I believe it'll be good for our economy. It'll be good for our restaurants. I believe in the future it'll drive more restaurants towards Wellston once the need starts to arise. Was there? And then we started talking about the ACGP grant. So we actually partnered with Ironton Lawrence Community Actions Organization. That is a mouthful. That's who we partnered with to apply for the ACGP grant. That one will fund Louis. The 4 things that we put in for was the Louis, the RV park, build an open air market on the old Pants Factory, and expand the bike path. We expect to hear back next month on where those projects all stand. I skipped ahead on something. And We'll be going there. We'll be hopefully by February we'll have a notion. That's going to be kind of fast acting money. That money has to be implicated by the following year. It has to be completely spent. So once we find out, you're going to see things happen really fast. The engineering's almost all been done for it. So if we get that funding within a year, if I'm assuming the Louvi's top of rest, that number one priority replaced, if that funding comes through, the Louvi will be finished within a year. So it's exciting, and it'll be very fast paced once we get rolling on it. So like I said, the fire department and the police are going to talk for themselves. So I don't think I skipped over them. But just, you can't overthink all the city people individually enough. From Kathy Spirall in the clerk's office, Kathy Long up here in the auditor's office, Brittany as a treasurer. Dupree just stepped in, but he's been a full-time member since he's been here. But we have a very active group of people who's working very hard together to move us forward. And so hopefully in the coming years, the 4 years, you're going to see a lot more, and we'll live up to our promises we made. And that's all I have.